The Straits of Hormuz are this like choke point in the Persian Gulf. 20% of the world's oil passes through there. And right now you've got ships essentially parked on either side of the strait. The ones trying to leave saying, I'm not going to go through there just yet. One tanker was hit and was set on fire.
Now, you heard, of course, Megan mention the concerns in the region about Iran targeting oil facilities. And there are significant concerns about how this war could disrupt the global economy.
The price of oil has hit $90 a barrel for the first time in nearly 2 years. Comes after Qatar's energy minister.
Something extraordinary is unfolding inside the global energy system, and its impact could reach fuel prices, national economies, and political decisions worldwide. In one of the most critical waterways on the planet, commercial shipping has nearly come to a halt. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime corridor linking the Persian Gulf to global markets, normally carries close to 1/5 of the world's daily oil supply. Under normal conditions, roughly 100 giant tankers pass through this passage every day, moving crude oil and liquefied natural gas toward Asia, Europe, and North America. But that steady flow has now slowed sharply. Escalating tensions involving Iran and rising security risks have forced shipping companies to pull vessels back. Insurance firms have raised premiums or withdrawn coverage altogether. Naval deployments have increased, and commercial operators are steering clear of the area. The result is something energy markets almost never experience: silence. According to maritime tracking reports, nearly 200 oil tankers are now stranded across the Persian Gulf and nearby waters. Some sit anchored off the coast near Dubai, while others drift cautiously through open sea, waiting for guidance. Each ship holds millions of barrels of oil that cannot reach global markets. Inside these vessels, thousands of seafarers wait in uncertainty. One crew member described watching flashes of distant explosions light up the night sky as their tanker continued loading crude. Communication systems began to fail, GPS signals dropped, and fighter jets thundered overhead while the crew waited for orders. Eventually, the ship departed port with more than 1 million barrels of oil on board. Now, it sits motionless in the Gulf. Food supplies and desalinated water may last several weeks, but the crew has no idea when they will move again or how conditions around them may change. Maritime organizations, including the International Transport Workers Federation, warn that seafarers often become invisible during geopolitical crises, even though global trade depends entirely on their labor. Yet the human story is only one part of the unfolding shock. When a route that carries nearly 20% of the world's oil suddenly slows, the entire energy system reacts. Prices rise, supply chains scramble, governments begin urgently searching for alternative fuel sources. That search has brought unexpected attention to a country far removed from the Middle Eastern conflict zone, Canada. Unlike Gulf producers, Canadian energy exports rely mainly on pipelines and Pacific shipping routes that completely bypass the Strait of Hormuz. A major pipeline connecting Alberta's oil sands to Canada's Pacific coast now transports hundreds of thousands of barrels of crude each day to export terminals. From there, tankers can sail directly across the Pacific to Asian markets. In normal times, Middle Eastern oil dominates global supply. But when those routes become unstable, alternative producers gain sudden importance. Canada holds one of the largest proven oil reserves in the world, estimated at roughly 163 billion barrels. Combined production from oil sands and conventional fields approaches 6 million barrels per day. That scale allows Canadian exports to play a stabilizing role during major global disruptions. Natural gas is also entering the picture. A large liquefied natural gas terminal in British Columbia has begun shipping LNG to Asian buyers such as South Korea, creating new energy links that avoid Middle Eastern choke points entirely. For decades, most Canadian oil flowed almost exclusively to the United States, often at discounted prices due to limited export options. New infrastructure is now reshaping that reality. Asian buyers, including India and Japan, are increasingly exploring Canadian supply as they seek stronger energy security. Moments like the current crisis are exactly when those new routes become strategically valuable. This does not mean global markets will shift overnight, but it reveals a deeper truth about today's energy system. When a single narrow corridor like the Strait of Hormuz becomes unstable, the shockwaves travel across oceans, economies, and political alliances. And nations with secure infrastructure, abundant resources, and reliable export routes can suddenly play a far larger role in the global energy future. For now, the tankers remain waiting. The crews continue scanning the horizon. And the world is once again being reminded just how fragile its energy supply lines really are.